ADR. Promoting dialogue. It's midday in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Cotonou. Good afternoon. Many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Media professionals in Senegal observe no press day to demand tax moratorium.
Avec le président Macky Sall, on avait un effacement intégral de la dette fiscale.
With President Macky Sall, we had a complete removal of the tax debt until December 31, 2023. The new authorities do not accept this tax removal.
A section of Guinean population welcomes the draft constitution but laments the absence of an electoral calendar.
I want it to be in the constitution that from this period to this period, it is the period where we have election. We want a precise date for elections in Guinea.
An ECOWAS delegation leads a monitoring and evaluation mission to flood-affected areas in the Gambia. And Niger's military government bans UNDP from carrying out observation mission in the country. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. This edition begins right here in Senegal as today, Tuesday, is a no press day in the country. The aim of this day, initiated by the Council of Press Distributors and Publishers, CDEPs, is above all to denounce the current challenges facing certain media outlets. These include the seizure of production equipment, the freezing of payments, and blocking of bank accounts, a situation that has led some media outlets to suspend operations. CDEPS calls on the government to engage in dialogue. Mamadou Ibra Khan is president of the Senegalese Press Employers Association.
Avec le président Macky Sall, on avait un effacement intégral de la dette fiscale.
With President Macky Sall, we had a complete removal of the tax debt until December 31, 2023. The new authorities do not accept this tax removal, so we are ready to negotiate moratoriums for the payment of this tax debt. The new authorities insist that there will be no removal, and we said yes, we're ready to pay because it is our debt, because they are our debts, but on condition that companies that are exempted from financial loans can pay them with very flexible moratoriums. But in reality, in the action plan that we wanted to submit to the new authorities, there is a specific tax on the press sector. Operators that are classified in the strategic and essential sectors of Senegal benefit from a specific tax. This is the case in agriculture, livestock, social housing, etc. And it is the same for the tourism sector. It is also the case for foreign investors, a total exploration that can go up to 5 years. So we have voiced our concerns and declared that we are a sector in difficulty, a sector in crisis. The real debate is actually about requesting a light tax for the press sector as it is done. In France, there is a specific tax for the media sector. There is even a specific tax for media workers.
Pour le secteur des médias, il y a même une fiscalité spécifique pour les travailleurs des médias.
Mamadou Ibra Khan is president of the Senegalese Press Employers Association. Meanwhile, Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko arrived in Bamako on Monday for a dates-friendly visit. During Sonko's short stay, he met with his Malian counterpart, Choguel Maïga, and the president of the transition, Colonel Assimi Goïta. Discussions focused on strengthening cooperation ties between the two countries. Details in this report by WADR's Bamako correspondent Aliyu Cham and voiced in our studios by Abdullahi Hassan.
Upon his arrival, Ousmane Sonko was welcomed by Malian Prime Minister Choguel Maïga. The two men then had a one-on-one discussion, followed by a working session for both delegations on bilateral cooperation. Later in the evening, Ousmane Sonko was received by the president of the transition, Colonel Assimi Goïta. On leaving the audience, the Senegalese Prime Minister indicated that Senegal would continue to support Mali in its fight against terrorism. He says, "It is an honor and a pleasure to be here to renew our attachment to Mali, to present our salutations, but also to show solidarity with the Malian people for the fight, which is a legitimate fight for their sovereignty, but also a fight against this very cowardly phenomenon that we call terrorism. And you can be assured that nothing that can destabilize Mali will come from Senegal, at least not under our regime." Ousmane Sonko also clarified Senegal's position on the question of ECOWAS. He says, "I will never be reproached. I will never make a single statement that I made before that differs from the one I am making today. Our position has been very clear since the beginning. When we started to take a position on these issues, there was no AES yet. Each country in the Sahel was fighting its battle, which today is considered the AES. When it came to Mali, we were the first to denounce it, and we continue to denounce it firmly. The embargo was imposed on Mali by our brother countries, and unfortunately, among which is our country. That has not changed today." At the end of this visit, the Senegalese Prime Minister said he was satisfied with the interactions. He reaffirmed his country's willingness to cooperate further with Mali.
Abdullahi Hassan voiced that report, fighting by WADR's Bamako correspondent Aliyu Cham. Away from Mali, the Nigerian military government has banned the United Nations Development Programme UNDP from carrying out its observation mission in the country. The ban, which was announced via a radio broadcast by the Ministry of the Interior and Public Security, also ordered regional governors to enforce it. There was no further explanation or reasons stated for the ban, but sources say senior government officials have questioned the relevance of such a mission in Niger. It is worth noting that the UNDP's mission was to assess the security situation in Niger, a country battling a deadly insurgency, a radical economic crisis, and climate change, among others. Guinea's transitional authorities have unveiled a draft constitution which announces significant changes to the previously adopted document. The text, publicized by the National Transitional Council (CNT), draws inspiration from the 2020 Constitution of the Republic. The draft document is expected to be voted on at least before the end of the year, which marks the end of the current military regime, according to the Transitional Charter. Eche Atisu has more in the following report.
Guinea's draft constitution, published by the Transitional Assembly, is seen as a major step by the military leadership to end the transition by holding inclusive and transparent elections. While it holds the potential to usher in a democratic government, the draft text proposes for Guinea to henceforth operate a national assembly comprising of the upper and lower chambers. Sidike Ouattara, a Guinean political analyst, welcomes this amendment.
The fact of having two chambers in the parliament, talking about the Senate and the parliament itself, is a very good thing in Guinea if we are able to put the right people at the Senate level. Because most of the time, the taxes are not the problem in our various countries, but the application is the problem.
The draft constitution also imposes a strict two-term limit for the presidency, each for 5 years. The text did not, however, clarify the eligibility status of the interim head of state, General Mamadi Doumbouya, who, per the transition charter, cannot contest in future elections in Guinea. This is already generating debate across the country, but not on the same measure as the document's failure to declare an election calendar, says Sidike Ouattara.
You can spend 2 years, 3 years, we are still talking about election and the different results and who was corrupted, who was not corrupted. But I want it to be in the Constitution that from this period to this period, it is the period where we have election. We want a precise date for elections in Guinea.
The unveiled draft constitution includes progressive measures from the 2020 Constitution, which bans the death penalty and female genital mutilation. It also stipulates that anyone arrested, detained, or charged must be informed of the reasons for his or her arrest. Citizens and analysts in Conakry fear that voting on the document is one of the far too many steps to implementing some of these amendments.
Eche Atisu with that report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has deployed a team for a field validation monitoring and evaluation mission in the Gambia. The team is expected to evaluate and assess how the $954,616 allocated by the regional body for Banjul as part of a broader $10.16 million relief initiative is being utilized. The initiative aims to assess the humanitarian relief support for victims of the flood disaster and the food crisis in 2022 across the country. WADR's Sankula Janko has more in this report.
The primary objectives are to evaluate the effectiveness and efficiency of the relief efforts and ensure the resources are being utilized appropriately. Mohammed Ibrahim is the head of the Humanitarian and Disaster Risk Reduction Division of ECOWAS.
We are embarking on this mission to measure the impact of our collective support and efforts to identify the gaps and see how we can do better by leaving no one behind. As ECOWAS develop appropriate mechanism for realizing the Vision 2050, our focus will continue to be people-centered and people-oriented.
This mission is crucial for ensuring that aid interventions are meeting the needs of affected communities and for enhancing the overall response to future crises. Sana Dahaba, Executive Director of the Gambia National Disaster Management Agency, explains the significance of the relief support for the victims.
The 2022 flood response project under CRS aims to assist 2,650 households nationwide.
Meanwhile, Amalai Toure, Country Manager of Catholic Relief Services, the implementing partner, comments on some of the strategies employed.
CRS, in close collaboration with NDMA, has developed 4 tiers for inclusion criteria. And these tiers include 1, those that have people living with disabilities in the household. And then secondly, household with female heads and households whose houses were completely destroyed due to the floods or partially destroyed.
Key activities during the 4-day mission that began on Monday will include visits to affected areas, a review of relief distribution processes, interviews with beneficiaries and local stakeholders. Flosinkan West African Democrats Radio, I'm Sankula Janko reporting from Banjul.
Now to Liberia, where the government has vowed to address the country's human development indices after new statistics revealed a high number of out-of-school children. The data suggests that over 300,000 or 20% of school-going children were not attending classes, classifying Liberia as among the countries of the world with the highest count. President Joseph Boakai receiving the report as shows of measures to improve the situation. Here's the details with WADR's Darlington Popper.
President Joseph Boakai said that the statistics which concern children between the ages of 6 to 14 rank Liberia as one among the countries of the world with the highest out-of-school ratio.
This is alarming. It shows that we are a nation in emergency. High out-of-school rate, substandard learning institutions. A lot of people in this country set up schools just like they set up NGOs. Just to collect money for themselves. They don't care how the schools are run, undermining the development of the country, but the future leadership of this country and the continuity of our country.
In her remarks, Education Minister Jasso Jala announced that the government has launched a program dubbed Back to My Classroom. This initiative is geared towards transforming the lives of children in school and encouraging parents to keep their children in school.
Our mission begins in 7 strategically choosing counties: Grambassa, River Sess, River G, Sino, Bapolo, Bomi, and Granjide, where we will work closely with local communities, civil society, traditional leaders, and educators. Our overarching goal is to bring as many children back into the classroom as possible within this first year.
The Liberian government has vowed to embark on awareness raising across the country, especially in areas where enrollment is very low. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Popper in Monrovia.
In Nigeria, experts and stakeholders in the migration sector have advocated for a change of approach in reporting migration issues. From Abuja, WADR's Usma Umra reports.
The seminar, organized by the Journalists International Forum for Migration, GFORM, aimed to discuss strategies for combating irregular migration. GFORM President Dr. Ajibola Abayomi shared perspectives on collaboration, media capacity building and networking as key elements in strategic communication efforts.
The outcome of this seminar is very critical in reshaping the future of migration discourse in Nigeria and beyond. We are hoping to identify actionable strategies to identify threats while harnessing opportunities that migration presents. However, to make a truly lasting impact, it is essential that we continue this dialogue in a more robust and comprehensive format.
Interim Chief of Mission for IOM Nigeria, Chief Paula Pace, emphasized the importance of capacity building, appropriate language, and a human-centered approach in migration reporting. She highlighted the need for positive storytelling about migrants, citing the significant increase in Nigerian immigrants and diaspora remittances. Pace also stressed the importance of creating safety pathways to counter irregular migration. Other stakeholders, including National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons representatives and journalists from various countries, urged media platforms to counter false narratives promoted by human traffickers. They also expressed concerns over the alarming rate of irregular migration among youths, calling on African governments to improve economic conditions and enhance media advocacy. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Media professionals in Senegal observe no press day to demand tax moratorium. A section of the Guinean population welcomes the draft constitution but laments the absence of an electoral calendar. An ECOWAS delegation leads a monitoring and evaluation mission to flood-affected areas in the Gambia. Still ahead, the Global Junior Chamber International JCR promises investment in Senegal's youthful population. We do have the press review, guest interview, and the sports news. Please stay with us.
You are listening to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal.
Thanks for being with us. The Junior Chamber International JCR, a global organization of young leaders, is making strides to provide leadership opportunities to young people in the world, including Senegal, by giving them the ability to create a positive change. Established in 1915 in St. Louis, Missouri, the United States, JCR conducts training for young people to become leaders who would impact the community and maintain lasting peace in the world. Kevin Kuman Kamaravel is the global president of the organization.
The opportunities in Senegal, I understand from reading that there are a lot of opportunities because Senegal is growing. And even yesterday, when I landed and I was walking in the corridor of my hotel, I met two businessmen. I asked them, okay, how is the opportunity here? It's like they were like the opportunities here is abundant, and they were with like big suitcases with a lot of samples. And I asked them like, what are they doing? And they told me that they have been working not just with Senegal, but lots of the African countries, especially in West Africa. So I truly believe that Senegal has a great opportunity for international investments and also to import-export business here.
Kevin Kumaravel is the global president of the Junior Chamber International JCR.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Let's join Darlington Pogba in Monrovia for the press review.
For today's edition of Press Review, we begin with the front page Africa newspaper. Government assets or liability? The paper is asking the question here. We see the photographs of suspended officials of the Central Bank of Liberia and recently resigned Deputy Bank Governor for Operation Nimeni Pearson. Plague in prison. We see the photograph of this prison facility where the paper is reporting that most of the inmates here have contracted the hepatitis B virus in cell. On the back page of the front page Africa newspaper is all about sports. The newspaper is next. Shift the paradigm. Coon reps on youth political participation. We see the photograph of Vice President Jeremiah Coon. U.S. $1.2 million hospital unveiled. Boaka meets traditional leaders. On the back page of the newspaper, Deputy CBL boss resigns. Police officers off to South Sudan for UN's peacekeeping mission. Senator donates vehicles to commercial drivers. The Integrity Watch newspaper is now our final stop. Liberians range praises on outgoing CBL Deputy Governor for her service to country. We see the photograph of Nimeni Pearson, who recently resigned from the Central Bank of Liberia. On the back page of the Integrity Watch newspaper, President Bouaka accepts CBL Deputy Governor's resignation, thank her for her service to country. New U.S. Ambassador hosts talks with Speaker Kofa. National chiefs and other councils get new leader. We see the photograph of the newly elected chief on the back page of the Integrity Watch newspaper. That is, I would love to conclude today's edition of Press Review, but before we go, these are the newspapers we actually followed on today's edition. We followed to the front page Africa newspaper, the News newspaper, and the Integrity Watch newspaper was our last stop. On that note, thank you so much for following, and bye-bye.
Thank you, Darlington Pogba, for the press review.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
Well, our guest this afternoon is Kevin Kumaravel, Global President of the Junior Chamber International, JCR, an organization of young leaders that is making strides to provide leadership opportunities to young people in the world, including Senegal, by giving them the ability to create positive change. Kumaravel, who is currently in Senegal, explains JCR's commitment towards opportunities for young people in the country.
As young people and youth of this world, we believe that everybody is talking about rights. They're taking their claim towards their rights in every country, but nobody is actually talking about the duties every human being must do. And we discussed about this, and we had a lot of meetings to list out different human duties, and then we decided this year we will also have a specific day to celebrate for human duties, and that's why we decided to choose July 10th as International Human Duties Day, and we launched that initiative this year from United Nations premises. We had a reception meeting in UN, New York, and from there we launched it, and we asked all the countries where JCI is present to celebrate International Human Duties Day.
Has there been a study or a survey done by JCI to identify the main problems of young people in Africa that JCI will intend to address as per its initiative?
Every country, the situation is different. Every country, the members are different. The culture is different. What we encourage them to do is to find the problem and give sustainable solutions to it. And the second one, we have initiated something called JCI in Business this year. And the idea is to make them talk about business in a specific way. And we have done this in the bigger area conferences as well, where people get to know about the opportunities. For example, today I had a meeting with one of the association, and I came to know about a lot of opportunities here. And specifically in India, I come from, even though I'm the JCI's global president, I come from India. And in India, we always say that Africa is the future for business.
What equally did you discover were some of the challenges with the business environment that really frustrate youths today who really want to start business or businesses and even help employ young people like themselves and reduce that unemployment rate?
In our organization, we understand that the Gen Zs, specifically these days, they like to talk about business. The opportunities in Senegal, I understand from reading that there are a lot of opportunities because Senegal is growing. And even yesterday, when I landed and I was walking in the corridor of my hotel, I met two businessmen. I asked them, okay, how is the opportunity here? It's like they were like, the opportunities here is abundant. So I truly believe that Senegal has a great opportunity for international investments and also to import-export business here.
Kevin Kumaravel is the global president of the Junior Chamber International, JCR. Here is Sankule Janko with sports.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining our Senegalese club. Aigle de la Medina were crowned as champions of WAFU A-CAF Women's Champions League Zonal Qualifier Tournament. Aigle de la Medina are the first Senegalese club to qualify for the CAF Women's Champions League after they stunned Determined Girls 2-1 at South Arena Stadium in Bo, Sierra Leone. Ben Kane scored a late winner 89 minutes after determined goals FC Buntu Silla opened the score in 19 and her teammate Mari Jok equalized 43 minutes in the first half. This marks a significant milestone as Aigle de la Medina became the first club to compete and earn a spot in the Women Champions League 2024, joining title holders Mamelodi Sundowns and future hosts that will be announced in due course. The second game of the day saw Mboemo Queens of Sierra Leone and Red Scorpions of the Gambia play a batting draw. Elsewhere, Nigerian champions Edo Queens delivered a dominant 5-0 victory over ASGNN in their Group B opener of the CAF Women's Champions League WAFU B qualifying tournament. Edo Queens set the tone early, pressing forward relentlessly, but were initially frustrated by woodwork and a series of outstanding saves from SGN goalkeeper Safiatou Salifu. In the other Group B match, AO Essential held Hasaka Ladies of Ghana to a goalless draw in a closely contested encounter. Despite several opportunities, including close-range header from Hasaka Fatima Feni, neither side could break the deadlock. After match day 1, Edo Queens topped the group with 3 points, while Hasaka Ladies of Ghana and AO Essentials share a point each. ASGNN are at the bottom with no points. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Christian Mukidi and Mawudo Juf for the technical assistance. To interact with us via our social media platforms, X formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Augustine Cully. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kaigama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.
This is the Sunny Side Ride.
This is the Sunny Side Ride.
Super shows. Stay ahead with the news and great music that will keep you going. All afternoon. It's the Sunny Side Ride on 94.9 FM Dakar.
Sundays on WADR sound more entertaining this season.
I see you found it.
Immerse yourself in the world of arts and culture with great music to serenade your Sunday.
Music, roll it!
It has never been this good.